Conor McGregor versus Logan Paul is reportedly in the works from Conor McGregor himself, and I'm saying from what I'm hearing, I think this is actually a legit thing. I think this is going to happen, or at least in talks to happen. Maybe it doesn't come into fruition. We got a salty response from Jake Paul as well as Logan Paul seemingly confirming this, as well as other huge signs that this could happen. Plus more MMA news like the first look at AI judging and Conor McGregor threatening to sue people. Welcome to JackMMA news. We just got our first look at AI judging from Turkey Al-Sheikh. This weekend, the Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk rematch is going to take place, and we got a video released showing the first look at potentially AI judging. This could be obviously a big game changer depending on how it goes. Obviously, we don't know. For all we know, this AI machine could just wind up being terrible and judging this fight terribly. But if they actually implement AI judging, like for the future for combat sports, I mean, that could potentially be huge when it comes to bias and everything like that. Like, we would remove human error, but of course, there's also, you know, error in technology. So we're gonna have to see how that all works out. But speaking of some boxing, Ryan Garcia is out of his fight with Rukiya Anpo taking place December 30th. The fight has been postponed because of an apparent Ryan Garcia wrist injury. Now, this was going to be an exhibition boxing match like how the Logan Paul and Conor McGregor boxing match is going to be, but we'll talk about that later. Now, interestingly enough, this fight was postponed, but we don't have a new date, and I kind of wonder, is this legit? Is this injury legit? Because if you guys will remember, Oscar De La Hoya was super against this fight, tweeted out the day of the press conference saying he did not put out approval for this fight to take place, seeing that Ryan Garcia is under his promotion. So with that being said, was this fight actually postponed because of a wrist injury, or was this because Oscar De La Hoya refused to sign off on this? Even Bill Haney, the father of Devin Haney, kind of alluded to this on Twitter, tweeting out, did that Oscar De La Hoya golden boy handcuff break his wrist, or did he pull out because he couldn't hit that 153-pound exhibition limit? Ryan Garcia responded to this on Twitter saying, get off my dick, Bill. You keep talking about me non-stop. When you want your son to get dropped again, let me know. As soon as there's an update on this story, I'll let you guys know if this gets rescheduled. We also got some big MMA news revolving Israel Adesanya and JDM versus Usman being a potential fight. Israel Adesanya on his YouTube channel reacted to Manel Cap calling him out at UFC Tampa.
Why say fuck me for? Hey man, this shows I've been in his head this whole time. I didn't even think it was like that.
Adesanya also posted some footage of him working on his defensive grappling. Jack Della Maddalena versus Kamaru Usman was rumored to be at UFC 312, but per the reliable Alex Brahunin, it looks like this fight is not going to be taking place. He tweeted out saying, JDM versus Usman is not happening at UFC 312, and unfortunately, there's a good chance JDM will not be on that pay-per-view at all. So does this mean that we're going to keep Kamaru Usman versus JDM as a matchup, or does this mean that JDM is going to fight somebody else? Because look, I think JDM versus Leon Edwards is a really good fight to make, and the fight would make sense. Obviously, JDM is pretty high up in the rankings, and that's a good matchup for JDM as well. Obviously, both strikers. Good matchup for Leon, better than a potential Sean Brady matchup. Now, before we get into Conor McGregor versus Logan Paul, I want to talk a little bit about Conor McGregor's legal situation. Obviously, Conor McGregor was found legally liable for an alleged sexual assault that took place from the alleged victim, Nikita Hand. This trial lasted like a few weeks or so, and Conor McGregor was found civilly liable, having to pay Nikita Hand. Conor McGregor put out a tweet saying, I was found liable for assault and guilty of nothing. I will be pursuing all defamatory writings about me. Of course, he's talking about the fact that a lot of people have been saying, oh, Conor McGregor is guilty, when that's not the case, right? This didn't go to court, so it's technically not guilty. It is liable. It is kind of like a small difference, because obviously, as we've explained time and time again on this channel, you know, a civil court, you need a lot less evidence than you would a criminal court, right? With a criminal court, you need to be beyond a reasonable doubt, while civil court, it's more like a 50-50 chance, you know, which one is more likely. And that's why, if you guys remember, Conor McGregor's sexual assault case couldn't even be tried because there was not enough evidence for it. But Conor McGregor versus Logan Paul, this is a boxing match that is rumored to be taking place. We have even more details. I did a video yesterday talking about the breaking news. I had to do a little bit of a quicker video because I woke up early and found out this news, and I was on my way to do a final. We have a lot of replies, as well as why I think this fight is actually, you know, kind of likely that it could happen. Jake Paul on Twitter responded to the news and said, now it all makes sense why Conor McGregor and his management team have been desperately trying to get MVP to negotiate for a fight between us. As we told them privately, and I'm now saying it publicly, the only way we're willing to explore me versus Conor Conor in a pro boxing / MMA fight is if Dana White / UFC are at the table directly, or make it clear that they are okay with discussions. Conor is washed, needs the Pauls, Logan by however he wants. Now, a few interesting details there from the tweet. First of all, Jake Paul, says an MMA fight, so I don't know if potentially we could see even Logan Paul versus Conor McGregor in MMA. But I think overall, man, I think this is just a really weird, salty response from Jake Paul. Like, Jake, we talked about this in the last video, has been trying to get the Conor McGregor fight for years at this point, and for him to just rush out even before Logan responded to be like, hey, no, we were in negotiations first, it just comes off as extremely desperate, extremely, kind of shamed and embarrassed. I mean, there is clearly like an insecurity of Jake. We've seen in the podcast with him and Logan before where Jake is insecure about the fact that Logan might be a bigger draw than him, which I'm not saying I agree with that, but it seems like the two are always in competition for each other, with their fights. The Nate Diaz fight was a similar situation where they were competing with that. Obviously, Jake got the fight at the end, and I'm going to talk about later why I don't think Jake is going to get this fight at all, but it just seemed like he was rushing to Twitter to come up with an excuse as to why he's not fighting Conor McGregor, trying to say, oh, look, it's because he waited for the UFC, which I do believe, but it's like, why are you in such a rush to put that out? I feel like this is just extremely salty behavior. Ilia Topuria also responded. Of course, Conor McGregor put out in his initial tweet, saying that the rumors are false that him and Ilia Topuria are going to fight. Ilia Topuria responded saying, the rumors of a bout with me and McChicken are false. I don't fight, nor am I interested in fighting with a rapist. Honestly, at this point, I'd much rather fight with Conor McGregor and Ilia Topuria than Logan Paul. But Logan Paul responded on Instagram, posting a picture with both him and Conor McGregor, as well as Conor McGregor's tweet with some fire emojis next to it, seemingly, signing off on this as well. And I gotta say, the big piece of evidence, and there's even more evidence to support this, and I'm gonna get into this all right now, but is Dana White's silence, right? Dana White's silence is truly deafening, because it was not even a week ago where Turki Al-Sheikh, kind of alluded to Ngannou versus Jones taking place in Riyadh, where, Turkey wanted to make that fight. And it was not even 24 hours. I think it was like literally within like 3 or 4 hours or so. Dana White responded saying this was not true. He hopped on right away and, immediately killed the rumor. Dana has not said anything on this, and I'm sure every MMA reporter out there has reached out to Dana White already asking for comment, and I'm sure he's been dead quiet. And as I talked about in the last video, this would make sense with what Dana White said at the post-fight press conference about having a big surprise no one would see coming. We also have Ariel Helwani, who I think is the most trusted MMA reporter in the game right now. He thinks this is a real thing. He's saying that Conor McGregor didn't just pull this out of nowhere. And if this is true, like, Conor McGregor, I guarantee you, is not just negotiating with Logan Paul, violating the terms of his contract, and potentially getting sued, which I don't think Conor McGregor wants another lawsuit on his plate. Unless he's willing to do all that, the UFC has to be involved or at least approve in some sort of way. And from what I've seen online, the Albani family is a really rich family, so they could be paying potentially, even 3 times, 4 times, maybe even 5 times how much Conor McGregor is worth for the UFC. And like I said, look, is there a potential Conor is lying? Maybe. I mean, we saw Conor McGregor kind of do this before, where Conor McGregor wanted to have a charity MMA match between him and Dustin Poirier back in 2020, and after that, the UFC quickly said, okay, we'll make this fight legit for the UFC, and kind of forced the UFC hand to make a fight. So there's a chance that maybe he's doing this to try to get a fight date sooner, because obviously we've seen Dana White say, oh, Conor McGregor's return is going to happen at the end of the year. Now, I want to talk about, finally, as I've been teasing, like, why does this all make sense? Why am I so confident in this? Well, if we look at the facts, like, this isn't exactly the craziest thing out there. Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather was 1000% a harder fight to make, because now we have things like, the Albani family, even Turki Al-Sheikh out there. We have, as I mentioned before, Dana White wanting to start his boxing promotion. We also have the biggest thing, that TKO owns both WWE and UFC, which obviously Logan Paul is in WWE. It makes it easier than ever because Showtime and the UFC was a lot harder to get together. Keep in mind, Logan Paul has a good relationship with the UFC, right? He's been with Dana White before. Prime even sponsors the UFC. I mean, you see their ads everywhere. So we know that Logan and Dana has a good relationship. Well, Jake does not. Like, I've seen a lot of people say, why not Jake? I'm surprised it's not Jake. I'd be shocked if it was Jake, because Jake has talked so much shit about the UFC, talked so much shit about fighter pay. You don't want to give that big of a platform for Jake to talk about the UFC and kind of their problems and make them look bad. And you especially don't want Jake to go out there and knock out Conor McGregor and, make him lose all of his star power. I think there's a reason that, Conor McGregor said an exhibition match is because I think that the UFC is worried about the size advantage, and maybe this is going to be some sort of short little tit-for-tat boxing match. Maybe this isn't going to be a legit thing. And I think when you add all of it together, it's not the craziest thing in the world. Now, honestly, though, if I'm going to be 1000% honest, I do not want to see this at all. I think this is the stupidest thing, honestly. Will I watch it? Of course. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not. What other details do we not know of? That we're going to have to find out, guys. I hope I laid out all the evidence good for you guys. This is everything we know so far. Maybe there'll be more updates, and I'll update you guys on Friday. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. You guys are the best fan base in MMA. Hit the subscribe button, like, comment, and share, and I'll see you guys in the next one.